Alright, so we have now officially had 3 full seasons under this Boehly, Eghbali, Clearlake, Bluecoat ownership. And I have an apology to make. I want to apologise to all of you. To all of the owners, to all of the directors, to all of whatever. Because you've proved me wrong. And I think Chelsea fans watching this, they've proved you wrong as well. Because we were all criticising this. We were all doubting this. And we were all questioning whether this was the way forward at a certain point. And whether you saw it before Sunday's match, whether you saw the light when Maresca started winning games, whether you saw the light under Poch, whether you saw the light when we were signing Enzo Fernandez in January of that year. Whenever you saw the light, there must have been a point where you were questioning it. Because it was a rough start. We had a really, really rough start. But one thing I must say, before I start this video where we assess this ownership's tenure so far, and where we assess where they're going to go, where they've come from, the strengths, the weaknesses, I want to address one thing. That is that when I say I have doubted the owners, I mean it as though I've doubted the method. I've never doubted the intent behind it. Let me make it clear. I have always been of the belief that Todd Boehly and Eghbali and these guys are obsessed with the idea of Chelsea becoming a big club again. Or not necessarily again, because we were when they signed us, but just obsessed with the idea of Chelsea winning the big titles, becoming dominant, becoming the best team that they can be. I'm sure of that. I've never not been sure of that. But the one thing that shows me that Chelsea owners do care is their hunger. Because I don't see hunger like in owners in general, like the ones that the Chelsea owners show towards transfers. If they suddenly lock eyes on a player who they think will work for this project, they will do everything they can to get him. Everything. And I'm talking about 2023-24, the summer of that season, when we've just signed Poch as manager. You guys remember when Caicedo was pretty much 100% done to Liverpool. It was sorted. Fabrizio was about to give the here we go any second. Big Todd Boehly gives Caicedo's phone a ring. He's probably in his hotel in Brighton waiting for the message from the Liverpool director saying, you know, we've done the deal with Brighton, you can head over for the medical, this and that. No, he gets a ring from Todd Boehly instead. And he picks up the phone, he's like, who is this? And Todd's like, hey Moises, fancy coming to London? Sorry about that. And look, the rest of that call is history. We'll never know what went down on that call. But whatever did go down, it must have been a passionate speech from Todd Boehly's side. He must have said some words to him, because we just finished 12th that year. And he managed to say Caicedo, one of the most in-demand centre midfielders, DMs, whatever you want to call him, in the league, in the world, off of Klopp, a proven manager, off Liverpool's hands, who, by the way, had Champions League the next season, or Europa League. But they had Europe, they had something. And then Boehly does the same again the next week to Lavia. Snatches him off Liverpool again. Do you know how crazy that is? The ability to take 2 of the most in-demand players in the league off of your club rivals that have done better than you, that have a more proven manager than you, that have a more solid squad. Liverpool had an advance over us, over everything, but I think the owners were the difference, the hunger. You know, because as a player, you want to be sold to a club's project. Because young guys like Caicedo and Lavia, they don't want to sign just to win a trophy next season and then be out the door, or then be back to fighting the table. They want to go to a club where they can be ensured that they will be success over time. It will accumulate and they can spend the rest of their careers there, or potentially, or their primes there. That's what they want. So Todd Boehly and Chelsea's ownerships have always had this idea, for the last 2 years at least, that the way forward is to convince these young players that as a collective, if they play their best for Chelsea, they will all reap the benefits of that together over a long period of time. That to me is what this project has been about. And I just want to clear it out of the way. I've never doubted the hunger in the owners. I've never doubted the intent. I've always seen that. But the method is the one bit that I have criticised. Because, look, let me just pull this up real quick. Right, so over here we've got Chelsea and Todd Boehly's first year in charge of Chelsea. Here we can see a bunch of different names. Now look, the age here is the age they were when they signed for the club, not their age now. So you can see there's a bit of a mix here. But I don't want you to focus on the Enzo Fernandez. I don't want you to focus on the Mudryks, not the guys who joined in January. I want you to focus on the Kukureyas, the Koulibalys, the Sterlings, the guys who signed in the summer. What do you notice? 27 years old, 31 years old, 24 years old, 33 years old on Aubameyang, 25 on Zakaria. These were not guys who were 19, 18 from an unproven league. Even Fofana, who's 21 from Leicester, was one of the most in-demand and proven centre-backs in the league. I mean, yes, he had injury issues, but he had been around for a while, is what I mean. Like, he wasn't just some new kid on the block. So, clearly the method has changed over time. Now, this is the method where guys like, I won't name, but guys on Twitter are crying for. They want Aubameyangs. They want Koulibalys. They have forgotten. They've forgotten where we were. We did this. We've been through this with these owners. It doesn't work. It doesn't work. Splashing money on big names because they're big names doesn't work. It only works if you're Real Madrid. Because Real Madrid are lucky that they have the pull that no other club really has, where they can just get the best player in the world, who we know is the best player in the world. They can just get Mbappe. They can get Bellingham. They can get Rudiger. They can get these guys. Other clubs have to gamble a bit more. They have to take big names, but who maybe are not wanted by their club, like a Sterling, who wasn't wanted by City, maybe for a reason. But certain guys would be saying, oh, he's proven. Oh, he just won the league. He's just scored 15 league goals, 20 league goals, whatever it was. Koulibaly. Oh, yes, maybe he's out the door. Maybe there's a reason why Napoli is selling him. Maybe, he's going towards the end of his career. Maybe there's a reason why we got him for cheap. But no, guys were gassing this signing up like we were signing the best centre-back in the world. Or we were signing a guy who was going to lead the back line for the next 10 years. No, he wasn't. Koulibaly was never going to do that. And I'm not acting now like I wasn't excited for Koulibaly. I was excited for all these signings when we signed them. But looking back on it with hindsight, this was not the move. And I think Todd Boehly and the owners realised it quicker than us. They did. They realised it quicker than us. They realised you can't succeed with this. It's not sustainable. Because look, even if we had a really solid season that year and not done awfully, which by the way is really hard to imagine because we were so bad that year, so bad. What's Sterling going to do for us for the next 5 years after that year? He was, yes, in his prime. He could have done a job for a few more years maybe if he'd kicked on. But that didn't happen. So that's 56 million down the drain we're never going to get back. If you accountants that care so much about the money. Same with Koulibaly. I know we made a bit of money back on him, but this guy we sold after a year. He was never going to be there for the next decade. Same can be said for Aubameyang. 33 years old. Was he going to lead the front line for the next decade? No, he didn't even lead it for that season. He led it for like a week under Potter. So what? And look, they've realised that so quickly that even that January, they changed up the model. You may not have realised it, but they did. They changed it up. Because in the summer, they were all about signing young players like the Casades, the Chukwuemekas, but also getting in the experienced talent, the big names that some of you guys really want or that cry out for. We had a shocking start to that season. It got even worse. But that January, they were like, you know what, this can't go on. Let's ensure that this club is safe for the decades to come so that this doesn't happen every year. Also, that every year that we have to keep signing big names to replenish the big names who are aging. So there's not that much turbulence. Because think about the turbulence there would be in the squad if we had to sign another Raheem Sterling just 3 years after buying him, or another Koulibaly just 2 years after, or another Aubameyang just 1 year after. And then we'd have to keep doing that. So yeah, maybe 1 year we'd get it right and the big names would perform like big players. But then the next year when they decline, the next ones we sign, are they guaranteed to do well? No. They decided, you know what we're going to do? We're going to get Enzo Fernandez, who's proven, by the way, who was proven by this time. He just won the Young Player of the World, or the Young Player of the Season, or whatever, the World Cup for Argentina and won the tournament. Let's get in Mudryk, who I know it didn't work out. But if he did, this is my point. They're not all going to work out. And this was still early on in the thing. They were still learning at this point. Madueke, who just off a profit, by the way. Gusto, who turned out to be a massive good deal, especially the next season. This season maybe he's been a bit iffy, but he's been a good signing. Andre Santos, who, even if he hasn't played a league game for us yet, he will next year. And if we sold him, which I don't want us to, and I don't think we will, we'll make triple, quadruple that. We will. This is now where I'm realizing where we were wrong as fans to criticize. We were wrong to criticize this model. Because yes, we were in the reactionary mindset of, oh, we're losing every game. It's going to be like this forever. We were so fatalistic as fans that we thought that it was going to be like this forever. But no, you saw an improvement next year with Poch. When in fact, instead of doing the same thing that we just done and signed Raheem Sterling's and signed the Koulibaly's, we did the opposite. We brought in Caicedo, 21 years old. Lavia, 19. Nkunku, who we actually signed a year prior, but he just came in. Cole Palmer, 21. Disasi, 25. Jackson, 22. Ugochukwu, Sanchez, Petrovic. You don't see a guy above 25 here. You don't. There's no new signing here above 25. And in fact, the 2 ones that you could argue didn't work out, the 3 ones were all the 25-year-olds. They were all the 25-year-olds. And look, this is the thing. We had to filter out the rubbish so that the young players could flourish. Because naturally, the young guys weren't going to click in their first season. You can't expect that. And even though we did, because we're fans and we want to always win, you can't expect that. You do need to sacrifice maybe a season of not good results so that you can have a decade of success, a generation of success. Because we had to go through the transition period of Koulibaly leaving, of Aubameyang leaving, of Sterling staying 1 more season but then leaving, of Kovacic leaving, of Havertz leaving, Mount leaving. You saw the amount of waste that we sold in that summer of 2023 when we bought Caicedo. When everyone was talking about how have you bought Caicedo, why are you spending £160 million on an unproven DM who's not even that good from an average mid-table Premier League club? But they were ignoring the fact that we made that money back by just selling Mount and Havertz to Premier League rivals. How has that worked out for them? How has it worked out for them? We sold Kovacic a year after. No, we sold Kovacic that year as well to Man City. And I'm not just talking about Kovacic. We sold Aubameyang as well in the summer. We sold Koulibaly, like I said. This summer, the amount of filtration that was going on to allow the young players to then adapt was crazy. Now moving on to the next summer. 24-25. Pedro Neto, 24. João Felix, 24. Dewsbury Hall, 25. Jorgensen, 22. Kellyman, 18. Penders, Anselmino, Amugu. This is the thing, guys. We don't know if Anselmino would be good or not. But we've got time to find out. And the thing is with the young guys, is they could join and we could loan them out to Strasbourg. They could be decent there. They don't even have to be good. They could be decent. They come back, we loan them again. Not great. We loan them again. We've still got them on contract for another 5 years. Loan them again. By that point, if we know they're not going to make it to the squad, they can be sold for more than 16 million euros because they've built up a resume elsewhere on loans in France, Prem, Bundesliga. We can. We're not spending 50 million on Anselmino. The only young guy we spent 50 million on was Esteval. And look, on players like Esteval, you do have to take gambles on them. You do. You have to spend the 50 millions on them. But look at the players we signed here. Would you call any of these guys, except for João Felix, a bad signing now? After even just 1 season? No, you wouldn't. Amugu, we sold straight back to Strasbourg. You can maybe say that was a pointless signing. But Penders looks like the real deal. And he's going on loan out to Strasbourg. We'll see how he does. Jorgensen's a solid little backup keeper. But we could probably sell him for a similar price we bought him for. Dewsbury Hall is a solid role player. Pedro Neto is looking like a really solid player now. Anselmino looks like a solid centre-back. We'll obviously just have to loan him. Renato Vega we could sell for that. Even more probably. And Gui is looking like a solid player. We just need to loan him out again. This is the thing. We cannot look at these players after just 1 year and evaluate the whole thing. But my overall point is that we were wrong to think that signing young players couldn't win you trophies or wouldn't win you trophies. We were wrong. We've already been proved wrong, but we will continue to get proved wrong. And that's why I'm switching sides quickly. I'm buying stocks in the method. I'm buying stocks right now. I announced my investment into the Blue Co madness and the Clearlake method because there is method behind the madness. There has been. Clearly now, we understand that. When we were losing to Southampton at home, when they were managerless and bottom of the league, we didn't see a way out of it. We had our new signings, João Felix on the pitch. We had Enzo Fernandez on the pitch. And if we were thinking back then, if we couldn't win then, what's going to help us win? If Enzo Fernandez can't get us to beat Southampton, what will? But we're ignoring the fact that the problem wasn't Enzo Fernandez. The problem was that we had Kepa, though. That we still had Mount on the squad. We had, like I said, Kovacic. We had Ziyech. We had Ziyech still back then. We had Ziyech, Pulisic on our books. That's the thing. I forgot Pulisic and Ziyech were even there that year. They were there. This is crazy. You forget these things, don't you? But that makes a difference. It does. So I think looking back on it, the problem wasn't these guys. The problem wasn't Enzo Fernandez. Or that Madueke was a waste of money. Or that Mudryk was a waste of money. The problem was that we needed these guys to just have a few years together. And Mudryk might not be the best example, but I still truly think that Mudryk could have had a place in the squad in the future if he hadn't got into this scandal. I still think that. I think these young guys we've signed, I'm yet to see one signing that has not lived up to expectation. And by expectation, I mean either getting into the squad or not being able to resell for a profit. Maybe I'm wrong, but out of the major ones, the Caicedos, the Lavias, Mudryk's one, obviously. Mudryk's one. But the Caicedos, the Lavias, the Pedro Netos, the Andre Santos, the Maduekes, because we've sold him for profit now, Madueke. So all these guys, Cole Palmer, I'm yet to see a failure. And all I'm seeing is our squad getting better and better and better each window, each summer. I am. And I frankly don't think it's crazy to say that we can continue getting better like this without having to sign the Aubameyangs anymore or the Koulibalys. I truly believe that. So overall, I'm officially announcing that I am sold by the Chelsea project. I am sold, and I apologise to Todd Boehly for doubting him, for doubting you, Todd Boehly. I know you're watching this, Todd. But yeah, that's all I really had to say. It's a bit of a ranty video, a bit of a unstructured one. But let me know your thoughts on the Chelsea project, on the owners, on the method, on the strategy. And where do you think we go from here? Do you think this is a sustainable way of doing business, just signing young players and putting them on long contracts and hoping they turn out well? You know, it's risky, of course, but I think it's done all right so far. And I've got no reason to believe that it won't continue doing all right. So make sure to like and subscribe, put your notifications on, comment your thoughts on this situation, and see you in a bit.